Welcome back into the Conference USA podcast roundtable game of the week live stream. We are live streaming the preview for week 2 matchup, the solo Conference USA game, where Liberty Flames will travel to Jacksonville State, a much touted circled game, I'm sure, for a lot of CUSA fans. So I'm happy to be bringing all of that action to you today. We've got 2 special guests joining us: Ben Reynolds, co-host of the Fan the Flames football podcast; Caleb Williams, co-host of the 700 Pelham Road Podcast. So they're going to give us all the insight into this game. Guys, I appreciate you for joining us, and let's get right into it. We're going to take a step back into those week 1 games, and if you're Jacksonville State, a week 0 game. But Ben, Liberty didn't necessarily look their best in week 1 against Maine. It took a little bit of late fourth quarter heroics. The defense really set up the offense. And Ethan Vasco, I think the numbers look good. Obviously, the points on the board weren't what you're looking for. But, Ben, walk me through that week 1 matchup against Maine.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. Glad to be on, guys. First of all, appreciate that. Yeah, man, it was a good Saturday. I mean, at the end of the day, you win the ball game, right? I've let out a lot of my frustrations of that loss at the beginning of the first half that everybody thought we were going to lose. You know what I mean? So yeah, everybody thought we were dead in the water, and we were able to regain some speed and turn it around. I think the thing about it, man, is I was frustrated for most of the game. We had a really good crowd out. 20,000 plus for a FCS home opener. That's awesome. With all that being said, our defense played fantastic. They had missed one run fit, and they also had another decent-sized run. I mean, outside of that, though, they played great. And a lot of people are like, oh, gosh, we let up 7 points. And honestly, we had a long drive to start the game, and it should have been 7-3. Billingsley missed a field goal, which was kind of out of character for him. It was his first ever FBS game, but he was a guy that would hit a lot of those field goals at Gardner-Webb. And it was just kind of shocking, honestly. And, you go into the half 7-7, and you're kind of looking around, and then third quarter, we didn't do much, right? So fourth quarter, though, we really started to get it all together. And I think that gives us a lot of momentum going into this game. Vasco, man, I think he's going to surprise some people. I think he had a good game overall. He just he's getting comfortable. And, I think this whole team just needs to improve off of this. You win, right? So that's all that matters at the end of the day. If we go 13-0 this year, no one's going to remember this game. So
I guess the real question, and it sounds like you have, you're very positive about the outcome. At the end of the day, a win's a win, and the defense looked as good as it ever has been. And I know outside of the Liberty space, there are still questions about Vasco and the offense. I guess my question is do you have a little bit of reserve, because you are playing against a Jacksonville State team this week that we believe has the ability to put up points? I didn't see it in that first week matchup for them, but do you have concerns about the offense?
I think we have the defense to keep it close, regardless of what you do there on the offense. I think our defense is going to keep us in the game. Again, they had one missed run fit. This defense has a lot of experience returning, and they had a bunch of guys who stepped up. And I found it kind of interesting. A little side note: there was some players that weren't playing early that would normally would start. So I don't know what that was all about. Like starters from last year, they didn't get in until later in the game. I don't know if it was maybe because of they were just trying to reserve them because of FCS game. I don't know, right? So I think we had the defense to do it. Now on the offensive side, we got some really good receivers. My biggest problem is not Vasco. I'm not worried about him. I'm not worried about a receiving room, and I'm not worried about our running back room. I'm worried about how our offensive line is going to be, because the past couple of years we've been fantastic. And this year we only really have one guy who was a starter last year full-time every single game, you know what I mean? So, and that's our center. So I think there's some inexperience there, but you hope by the end of the game we started looking better, and we had been switching guys around. It's going to give him more protection and allow him to do what he needs to do. So,
Tell me now, when we reflect on that game too, who are some guys that you thought overperformed, and then inversely, who do you think underperformed? Who do you need to see play better in this matchup against Jacksonville State?
I don't think I have one that overperformed, honestly, because at least on the offensive side, underperform. I would say that the offensive line as a whole, that's going to be where it's key, right? We're going to have less pass rushes and some better holes for this zone run scheme, especially when you got a guy who I think could really break out this year in Juju Gray. He's very fast. He had a couple of really good kick returns. He had a couple of nice runs. And you have Caden Williams and Evan Dickens, who are also two great running backs who I think have a very high ceiling despite of how young they are. So those are going to be your guys. Evan Dickens, if anything, maybe overachieved. I think he played the best out of all the running backs. He did get the touchdown on the swing pass. I do think, just overall, though, it was kind of underachieving, though. So it's really hard to pick one at that point.
Absolutely. Good stuff there from Ben Reynolds, again, co-host of Fan the Flames Football Podcast. Now let's turn it over. We're going to go to Caleb over at the 700 Pelham Road, where the Gamecocks went on the road to Central Florida in a wild one for weather-related stuff going on. You had a delay. You felt like you were in it the whole time, and really I would have to assume, from someone that's not in the program, someone that's on the outside looking in, I was thoroughly surprised at the outcome of that game. It was a lot closer than I thought it would be. In UCF, whether what side of the road you are, they're a good P4 or they're not a good P4. Go on the road in that environment. That was still a packed stadium in a weird situation. I think you should still be commended for the effort they had there.
It was kind of funny, when going into the game. I think one of the big questions with Coach Kelly, I'll kind of start with the coaching, was he has no experience as a head coach. And now he's going to go for his first game as a head coach at any level collegiately. He's got to go to the bounce house. He's got to go face Scott Frost, who has, the best season in UCF history, right? And so everyone's thinking, oh, UCF's going to score 1 million points. JSU's not going to do anything. And in reality, I think for most of this game, JSU was equal, if not in ways better than UCF. Starting offensively, Cam Cook led the team in carries and receptions. Gavin Wimsatt, conversation pretty much all offseason has been, can he complete passes? And honestly, I saw more out of him than I expected, right? And, it didn't jump off the page, but he's not – I said this in my solo episode last night. He's not the reason that we lost this football game. And that's really all you need from a quarterback. Defensively, they held UCF to a really, really good number. 108 yards on 37 carries. That's less than 3 yards a carry. On the road against a team that we know is going to try to run the football, and JSU just wouldn't let them do it. As a whole, I'm pleased with the game. Obviously, some plays, some specific calls didn't necessarily go our way, and we can get into that later. But on the whole, it was a great performance. For a totally new team, totally new staff. No idea what we're going to see. Definitely sets up the season well.
Yeah, you touched on some of those names there that the podcast roundtable, we did our All CUSA off. I would say, I'm not going to say unanimous, but everyone had him at least on the running back list. But Cam Cook really shined bright in that first one, as you said, led the team in rushing as we expected, almost 4.5 yards a carry. Also led the team in receiving, so he's as dual threat as it comes out of the backfield. I guess, is that kind of an expectation? Again, I think at times, UCF did a relatively good job of containing him, but do you think that that's a level of production that we're going to see? Or I guess as he gets deeper into Conference USA, where the defenses get a little bit weaker, we're going to see Cam Cook just take it to another level?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think it's going to be a lot like Trey Stewart. Now, I don't know if he's necessarily at that Trey Stewart level where, we're talking top 5 in the country in yards, top 3 in the country in touchdowns. I don't know if he's going to get to that level because that was truly a historic season. But I do think he is going to get better as the season goes on. I think UCF defensively, honestly, they looked just really good. And like you said, Cam still got his own. I mean, like I said, it didn't jump off the page, but 4.5 yards per carry in a new system, on the road, horrible weather. The field conditions weren't great because of the rain. He still managed to, like you said, lead the team in rushing and receiving. I can't remember the last time a running back did that for a team of mine. So yeah, I mean, I think he's going to get better. I don't know if it necessarily starts this week because, alluding to what Ben did say, outside of really 2 plays, they did look pretty good, in the run fit. But, there's 10 more games on the schedule. I don't expect every defense to be at Liberty's level. So I certainly think he's going to put up another big year for JSU.
Well, you touched on it there too with the fact that you're going to be facing 2 pretty stout defenses right off the rip, and Gavin Wimsatt's a guy that some question marks loomed for a lot of us. I know that I consider myself a skeptic of his, but I know you have some positive outlook on him. But a little over 50% completion percentage, over 100 yards. He got almost 30 yards on the ground. Another elusive quarterback in this league. I guess the question is, should we hold off on keep the jury out on this one until we kind of see what he can look like against what I would describe as the average Conference USA defense? Because I'm sure you would agree that he has the ability to be a top-tier quarterback in this league.
Yeah, skill set wise, he's got the arm talent. He has the mobility. He's got size. He's 6'3", 230. And he moves really well. Physically, he reminds me of Dak Prescott and the way he moves and the way he throws the football now. Like you said, accuracy wise, not always consistent. And that's just kind of who he is at this point. But I do think he has the ability to be a really good quarterback in this league. I think he's got a chance to be a really, really good playmaker. Oh, thanks. A really good playmaker for Clint Trickett and company, especially as the season goes on. Like you said, once we get through this game, I think the defenses are going to dramatically, decrease in how aggressive they are up front. And the more comfortable he gets in the pocket, the better he's going to throw the football.
Well, good stuff there from Caleb highlighting that 17-10 road loss at UCF. Now we're going to look ahead to the game that is in question this Saturday at 11 a.m. on CBS Sports Network. Liberty travels to Jacksonville State. But before we get into that, let's thank our sponsor. Conseco Group has been transforming visions into reality since 1987. Known for making the impossible possible, they specialize in pre-construction consulting, construction management, design build, and renovations. With a hands-on, client-focused approach, Conseco Group consistently delivers high-quality results while maximizing investment. Based in Nashville and trusted across Middle Tennessee, their reach spans the entire Southeast. Conseco Group, building excellence one project at a time. Learn more at consecogroup.com or call 615-298-9907. Big thanks to the Conseco Group for sponsoring today's game of the week matchup, again, between Liberty and Jacksonville State that kick off at 11 a.m. CBS Sports Network. The game of the week also for CBS and the Conference USA and their contract obligations. So this is one that a lot of us had circled. We're going to find out really what both of these teams are made of. Liberty has always been the mainstay on top of the conference since their arrival. Jack State really got themselves on the scene with what Rich Rod was able to do in his last year. Now it's a matter of who can regain that second spot. I think everyone on this episode can agree that I think Western Kentucky is kind of a shoe-in on the one spot right now. And maybe as the season goes on, that changes. But as it sits right now, Western has looked the best of any team in this conference. But right now, would Ben, I'm going to throw it to you. Would you agree that you're kind of playing for that top spot right from the rip with this matchup in particular?
No, I agree. Yeah, that's the thing. Western Kentucky, you know, they've had one conference game, of course, and they've looked really, really good. So I'm not going to take anything away from them. But I mean, I don't know, man. I think Jack State is going to have another great year, and I think we're going to be up there with them. So this game's huge, man. This is. I think this is a bigger game than Sam Houston and Western Kentucky. Personally, that's just me. I mean, you kind of saw what Sam Houston is against UNLV. Unfortunately, I don't know if they're going to be to the same level this year. But Jack State, man, they played UCF tough, and they're the team that, you know, going into this year, you know, about a month ago, I did a schedule preview, and this was a game that I was like, I don't know what they're going to look like. And then I watched that game Thursday night, and I'm like, they're good again. So, and who knows? UCF could be just a fake good. I don't know, but they're still they're a Big 12 team, and they're in Florida. They get a lot of good recruits. So I wouldn't count Jack State out, but I also wouldn't count Liberty out for winning the title this year.
As a Phil Longo skeptic myself, I think what we saw with Sam Houston is what we're going to get, just a bad defense, and the offense may not be able to keep pace. So, but Caleb, to draw it back into this game, do you feel like you got to have this one to at least, one, protect your home turf, but two, go ahead and set yourself up for success, because a win over Liberty this early in the year has got to create a lot of momentum as this schedule moves on?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to call, you know, game one of conference play a must-win when you feel like the rest of the schedule is pretty favorable. But, you know, in the 3 years that we have been 2 years that we've been, you know, in Conference USA, JSU and Liberty have really defined the conference. You know, 2 years ago, Liberty won it. JSU was one game out of finishing second in the conference, albeit they weren't eligible last year. JSU wins the conference. And really the JSU Liberty game has decided at least half of the participants in the championship game. So, yeah, I think it's must win. Like I said, the conference, the schedule is really, you know, I don't want to say it's light, but it's pretty favorable. We get Western Kentucky at home. We get, we got to go to Georgia Southern, but I don't think they're going to be that good this year. So I think, you know, if we can win Saturday, then yeah, absolutely. It sets us up for, you know, a 9 or 10 win, maybe even 11 win season, depending how things kind of settle out.
Well, the table's set. We know how big that this game looms for the rest of the year. And the thing I hate the most is that it's played in week 2. It's kind of one of those things you wish you could see later on in the year, because as Caleb touched on there, this is certainly one that kind of creates some eligibility for the conference championship, and a lot of tiebreakers assuredly will be held on this game. Ben, looking forward to this kickoff tomorrow at 11 a.m. What are kind of some storylines? I know we've broken down the tape of last week, but what are some storylines you're looking forward to Liberty? What's got to happen for the Flames to win this one?
Oh, man, I'll say it again, and I'll keep on saying it. Our offensive line needs to play 100 times better. I mean, but it goes on both sides of the ball, right? That's where this starts, is the trenches. I will always say that. I would say that turnovers and special teams decide games, but it really doesn't matter if you don't have the trenches right. You're going to get your butt whooped. So that's the thing about it, man. I don't know. This whole defense needs to make sure that they keep them in check, because if we can't move the ball to start the game, man, we could be out of it as soon as we start it, type deal. And I think our defense will step up. I really do. I think our defense is going to be key to keeping us in this game. I also think offensively, if that offensive line can get things going, I think we have the skill players to compete and put us over the top and win this game. I think it's going to be close. So having those little factors of that, but that's where, if it's close, turnovers, special team. I think we got a guy in Juju Gray who can be a difference maker on special teams, and Max Morgan, who's a great punter. You got to start making the kicks, though, if you're a kicker. We've had very inconsistent kicking, right? So got to get it, got to actually go and hit that field goal, right? And then as for turnovers, that's what turned around the game last week. I mean, man, we couldn't score again. And then, of course, we had to get a turnover to get the ball on our side, well, rather their side. And it was I think a 25-yard drive essentially at that point, which got us into the end zone to tie the game up at half. And then what really started creating the whole barrage of touchdowns in the fourth quarter was because of the turnovers. There was an interception by Mo Williams after we made it 14-7, and then we had a turnover on downs. So, yeah, man, it's as simple as that. Football is a game of inches, and you got to keep it close to win by special teams and turnovers. But, hey, it really doesn't matter if we play like we did last week on the offensive line. So I think this Jack State defense is real, and I ain't looking forward to it if we don't play like we should, to say the least.
I guess it's safe to say if the Flames come out to a slow start, that could be a long night for them. Caleb, I turn the same question over to you. What's got to happen for Coach Kelly for the Gamecocks to come out winners?
I think two things. First, I think we got to convert on third downs. That was our biggest thing. And whether it was on the ground, whether it was through the air, I'm pulling this team stats up now. Actually, we were 3 for 15 on third down. That's 20%. That's awful. That is absolutely awful. Whereas UCF was 7 to 15. So we've got to control third downs on both sides of the ball. And then lastly, this is really kind of what broke the game open and nearly broke it open on the first play of the game. The secondary has to keep things in front of them. This has been an issue even before Coach Kelly, even before Coach Rodriguez. We've been burnt deep, and just about every game we've lost, we've given up a big play in the passing game that blew it open. So if we can convert on third down, be efficient in our play calling, not try to do too much, and then keep everything in front of us, I think we're going to be in good shape. Because like Ben alluded to, our defense, I think front seven especially is tough. We're going to run the football. That's who we are as a program, regardless of the coach. But if we can just do the little things, I think we're going to be in really, really good shape at the end of the game.
It'll be a good one for certain. Before we kind of give our final predictions here, I do want to take a second, look back at this last week where we are with our Conference USA podcast roundtable standings. We've got a lot of people at the top. I think it's 6, 7 of us that have 12 correct. Almost all of us would be perfect if it wasn't for Austin P taking down MTSU, and whoever hosts the MTSU podcast, I certainly feel awful for their situation and what they have to deal with. But nonetheless, we've got 7 teams with 12. We've got Topper and Ben with 11, and then Caleb, who's always known to be our more risky picker. There at the bottom. He's got a lot of upsets on his menu for this week, and let's take a look at some of those picks. I always get a kick out of you, Caleb. I love some of the stuff that you throw on here. Before we get to the Liberty Jack State game, walk me through this. As far as the conference goes, and I don't know if you're trying to play catch up with the UT Martin pick over UTEP or the Missouri State over Marshall, but you got to walk me through some of these.
And look, it goes back really even, when I was a kid, and I was, learning sports from my dad. On the golf course, he would always tell me, if you have a chance to take a risk, go ahead and do it. Because, one, I'm not getting paid to do it, so I might as well have fun. But two, if it works out, I'm going to remember it. So, same deal here, if I just get a hunch that something might happen, that something might break a different way, I'm going to take the pick, because inevitably the one week it does, I'm going to pick up some upset points and start to catch up. So let's start off with with Marshall and Missouri State. Look, Missouri State, they were successful at FCS. Eventually, they're going to have to get some wins at this level, so I might as well keep picking them, right? I went with Tulsa, so that's no shocker. But then, yeah, UT Martin against UTEP. Scotty Walden's a great coach. That's nothing personal. Again, it's just a hunch. Sam Houston over Hawaii. I think I might be the one person in the chat, and I think everyone can back me up on this. I'm the one person who's actually a Phil Longo fan, if for no other reason than I've followed him ever since he left Sam Houston the first time. And I'm cheering hard for Sam Houston to turn it around under him. So I may keep picking Sam Houston against everyone except us, Liberty and Western, until it works out.
Well, you've got some underdog picks certainly lined up for you, like you say, for a big comeback. I always look forward to it because I would love to see like a perfect parlay for Caleb Williams and see how much money that could really rake in. But Ben, back to our game here in question, Liberty at Jack State. It's almost 50-50. We've got 5 that are picking Jack State. The other 7 are going to be picking Liberty. Do you find that the confidence clearly is there in Liberty? I don't know how much of that is tied to their past or how much it's tied to maybe a disbelief in Jack State and their new head coach. I don't know. Me personally, I went off the look test. I thought Jack State looked better in week 1. They're also the home team in this matchup in particular. So that's why I went Jack State. But how do you, I guess, feed off of this majority of us voting for Liberty?
Yeah. As the great once said, it's rat poison, right? It's all just rat poison. This is fun. I mean, don't get me wrong. I couldn't not predict the Liberty to win this one, right? I mean, that would look silly. Just how, I think FIU is going to surprise people this year, but there ain't no way they're beating Penn State. Penn State's my number 2 team. They're the reason why I love college football, right? So, yeah, so I just want to throw that in there. But it's just kind of funny seeing a lot of these picks, and especially for this game, it's the most split, right? So I personally, like I said, thought it was going to be a coin flip type game looking into this game. And that was a month ago before I even saw either of these teams. That's how much I have respect for Jacksonville State, right? So it's rat poison at the end of the day. I hope no one on the Liberty football team or Jack State football team watches this podcast until after the game, because don't buy into the hype either way, right? So let's go play ball. Let's decide it on Saturday, and we'll know by 3:30 Eastern time who's going to be the better team, right?
Absolutely right. Well, a lot of matchups to keep your eyes peeled for. The one that I actually was surprised to see that it was so Western Kentucky heavy is their road matchup to Toledo. Toledo, who's marked as one of the more popular G5 picks this year and is a 7.5 point favorite, according to Vegas, over the Hilltoppers. But overwhelming majority, besides our friends over at OCP and the Growl, choosing the Hilltoppers. So that's one to keep an eye for. Christian Molinar at the bus stop, our New Mexico State rep, is choosing Louisiana Tech over LSU. I'd like to think that he wasn't paying attention and just clicked the wrong button, or he has some deep-rooted hate of the Tigers. I don't know what's going on there, but excited for this week matchup. Lastly, guys, as we hang it up here, let's reel it in. 7.5 point favorite. That is Liberty on the road. The over-under is 51.5. If I had to give my 2 cents on it, the 7.5 is just scary enough to stay away from. I like both of these defenses that I saw last week that I think the under, I think, is good. But I could also see a world where both of these offenses just take off. Obviously, you can't lay these bets after the first quarter. But I think if I were going to place a bet, I would take the under, and I'd stay away from the point spread.
You or me first, Ben? All right, cool. No, I fully agree. I wouldn't touch that point spread with a 10.5-foot pole. It's because it's just big enough that even if Liberty wins, I wouldn't be comfortable putting money on them to cover. And I wouldn't feel comfortable on us covering either. I mean, that's just kind of that money pocket that Vegas has set where they're not going to make much money off this game. But on the total, absolutely, I'd be hammering the under. Between what I saw from Liberty offensively, what I saw from us offensively, this could be a little bit of a slugfest. Defensively, I think you're going to see a lot of kicks, and they aren't going to be the ones that end up points. So I think it's just going to be a field position game. So if I'm a betting man, and I'm not, I'd be taking the under on the total, and just hope that one of these two quarterbacks doesn't get hot.
Listen, I agree with everything Caleb says, but hey, Vegas doesn't know ball, and it's rat poison. That's all I'll say. Vegas doesn't know G5 football.
They don't.
I don't care what anybody says. Everybody they have all their inside info on the big games. They don't know anything about this game. This game's going to be close. Don't even bother even betting on this game unless you got to parlay with maybe some running back type rushing yards and stuff. I don't know because I'm not a gambler, right? But if I was a betting man, I would just not bet at all.
Yeah, I think if you bet on this game, you need to be finding a meeting.
Well, I understand. Well, guys, I appreciate you guys taking the time to join us again. That's Caleb William over at the 700 Pelham Road Podcast, Ben Reynolds, Fan of the Flames Football Podcast. Look forward, again, kickoff 11 a.m. Central Time. That's going to be 12 Eastern Time. Do a little bit of math. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Thanks to you, the listener, for listening to us here at the Conference USA Podcast Roundtable. If you're not already, make sure you're following us and subscribe to our YouTube where this is live streaming right now. So until next Friday for our Game of the Week 3 matchup, which will be New Mexico State at Louisiana Tech. Look forward to that. We'll see you all then.